Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you the third day of the 9th and final week of the Darkhorse program by Brian Alsruhe. Like usual, I'll leave links below for Brian Alsruhe's original video where he explains the program and outlines exactly how to do the program, as well as the LiftVault website where they've taken that information, placed into a free Google spreadsheet so you can do the program yourself without having to worry about entering all that information into a spreadsheet. So third day is our lower body day like usual. We're actually doing, for the max effort day and for the main movements of the day, our front squats and deficit deadlifts. For the warm-ups, I like to do obviously the front squat, but instead of the deficit, I'll actually start off with our Romanian deadlift. I think I feel that a little bit more in the hamstrings if the front squats are warming up more of the front of the body, so we're working quads, abs, so on and so forth. I mean, it does work the whole body, but we kind of have a focus on the front side of the body. I find that the Romanian deadlifts really helps warm up and just get everything ready on the posterior chain and the back side of the body. So we work on that hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back. I like the Romanian deadlift. It doesn't have as long of a range of motion, obviously, as a deficit deadlift, so we're kind of priming the body to move some heavier weights, and as that weight gets heavier, I'll transition over to that deficit deadlift during the warm-up period, so that my body can get used to that new range of motion, as well as the rep ranges. So for example, for the warm-ups, we do start off with just the empty barbell. I like to do 2 or 3 sets. I like to get 30 reps total, whether that be broken down in 10-10-10 or 15 and 15, and then I will load up 135 for the Romanian deadlift and 95 for the front squat, just because I know that that's where my weights start to vary a little bit. The deficit deadlift is obviously going to lift a lot heavier weights than a front squat, so I'm going to scale the warm-up weights to break that down, so I'm not doing 135 on both, because a front squat, today's front squats, first opening set start off at 135 pounds, so I'm not going to go from 45 to 135, and that's my working set, obviously, so we're going to break that down into little smaller jumps. So we do 95 for sets of 8 for that, and then 135 for sets of 5 for the remaining deadlift. And I did that again, so we did 2 sets of that, and then we move on to where I transition over to the correct reps and the correct movements. So when you go over to the deficit deadlift, we throw on another plate, so we do 225 for a triple, and then front squats 115 for sets of 12. So that way we're kind of ramping up to that weight, that target weight range, and then the target rep range as well. Because if we're warming up, as we increase the weight, we want to decrease the weight, decrease the reps to match the working reps for the day. If I was doing singles, I'm going to ladder down those reps as I ladder up the weight, and vice versa if it's for 5s, 8s, whatever the case may be. Your last warm-up set generally want to be close to that rep range or close to that weight range, so that it's not a huge jump, and that we can just make sure the body is ready and primed for movement. And that's really my warm-up, nothing else. If I'm going to include the conditioning section of this workout, I'll throw in, say today would have been kettlebell swings and jumps, but I didn't have time for that, so we just did those ones. Now we're moving on to the max effort work for the day. Prescribed was 5 sets. I only did 4 sets. First set included front squats for 135 for 12 reps, deficit deadlifts 345 pounds for a set of 3, and then we did some ab wheel rollouts on the knees, and then just some jumps, some air jumps. I think the front squatting is coming together. It sounds like a lightweight, but with the conditioning and the higher rep range that I'm playing in right now, the 135 is a nice weight to start off with. I like to make sure I'm kind of a little bit under with that, just because that front squat technique for me isn't as great as I would like it to be, and I'm really trying to get those wrists dialed in to holding the barbell in that front rack position without having to worry about this wrist strap technique to help with the grip there. From there we move on to the deficit deadlifts, 345 set of 3. I noticed generally if I eat a lot during the day, the deficit deadlift is one of those movements where, depending on if you do it in the morning or the nighttime, can affect your body angles, obviously, because you would have not had any food in the morning or had a full day's worth of eating at night. Because I was doing this in the evening, my waist, my stomach was a lot larger than it would have been in the morning, so bending over and grabbing that bar in that deficit position really changed my movement pattern, so I wasn't able to do triples in a row. I was resetting after each and every rep just to be able to get that full deep breath and to relieve some of that pressure in the midsection there. Something to keep in mind, if you have a different size belt or like a belt buckle for your weightlifting belt, that's where that comes in helpful. I have a lever belt, so I'm kind of stuck with the same lever positioning so that kind of sucks. You might have to play with positioning on the torso. Generally with the deadlifts, I like to keep the belt a lot higher than compared with the squats, so that'll help mitigate the stomach stretching over the course of the day. But just remember that can have a big effect on your technique and movement patterns, depending on if you're gaining and losing weight. But over the course of a day, if last week I did the deficit deadlifts, even the deadlifts in the morning, and then this week I do it at nighttime, that slightly altered because of the size of your midsection, because of food, liquids, whether you ate for the day, things of that nature, they're going to affect how much extra circumference you have around the waist. From there, we move up to our top set for the front squats, which is 145. We did that for the final 3 sets. Kept the reps the same at 12 across. Then we step up in weights for the deficit deadlift. So we start off, second set was 365 for a triple. We move up to 385. And then the final set was 405 pounds, which I thought was a great result for my own personal deficit deadlift. You'll notice I am using that heel squat shoe as well. I don't think that plays that big of a difference because we're already on an elevated stance, so what's another 3/4 of an inch when you're already probably 2 inches off the ground? And again, it just saves time between the two, and I don't think it plays that big of a role in how you deadlift the bar. So don't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't worry about it. But I'm really impressed with that 405 for a heavy triple. I don't think I've done that heavy of a weight, so that's probably a new triple PR for the deficit deadlift. And again, pick your weights, pick your reps, pick your movements, and so you can set new PRs whenever you want. And again, ab wheels kind of stayed at that 6 to 8 rep range, and then the jumps were 6s all the way across. We cut that last set off just for fatigue and time management as well. The pattern for this workout program has been lower body days, just brutal, so that cuts off a lot more workout segments than it was the upper body segments of the workout relatively. So from there we move on to our volume work for the day. Increase the weights for the front squat to 155, but we drop those reps down to 8, so we go from 12 to 8. Increased by 10 pounds. Probably could have jumped up a little bit higher, but again, fatigue kicking in, this and that. And we do drop that weight down for the deficit deadlifts, 325 pounds for sets of 8, and again some resetting in between the reps there because of the discomfort with that extra range of motion at the bottom there. But I did keep in the abs and the conditioning, but we did drop out the final 2 sets. So only one set of volume work today, and we didn't go over for the AMRAP set for that deficit deadlift either. So conditioning, fatigue kicking in, the weight was probably right on for that new triple PR. And from there we move on to dynamic effort squats. We only hit 4 sets. Again, sticking with that 255 pounds, so I believe that was a 10-pound jump from last week. Not that big of an increase, but still an increase nonetheless. I figured I wasn't going to complete the 10 from the get-go, so if I was going to complete 4 or 5, I might be able to increase that weight to get a little bit of extra training stimulus and a little bit of extra intensity given the fewer sets we have to do. So we stuck with that 4-minute time frame. We did every minute on the minute, but again, we missed out on the final 6 there, and we did stay within the hour and a half time frame for the workout today. Again, I'm interested to see how my 1 rep maxes go up. It feels like the dynamic effort section of the last segment of this program hasn't really been in my favor, and that might be signs that my just skill level, I haven't really practiced dynamic effort method in any meaningful way in the past. I've probably thrown in bands here and there, but really just throwing them on there without any rhyme or reason. So this program is probably highlighting some weaknesses in that explosive nature of my movement patterns, so this might help in the future in order to mitigate that and to help overcome that. But that's probably reasons as to why my weights aren't increasing as much for the dynamic effort method. I'm still trying to train and get into the habit of explosively lifting. But who knows, we'll see what happens when we test out the 1 rep maxes. For that, I'll leave a playlist right here so you can stay up to date with the program. You'll be able to catch my final rating and review and see, obviously, my final results for the program as well when I do a couple of days of testing. This has been Solon from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.